coat, so I fully got sucked into that one and did not see it coming. So again, so I want to thank the graduating class for asking me to talk tonight. And what I want to talk about tonight is basically it's based on my experience over the past over 25 years of practice working with a lot of physicians. I tend to see a lot of physicians that they sneak into my office at 5 and 6 o'clock at night so nobody knows. Some are sent by the MEC or others from various hospitals. So the different reasons. So some people choose to see me and some are sent to see me. Is this about right with the microphone? Do I need to get closer? Or needs to be up a little more? Is that better? Y'all hear me better now? Okay. So I'm going to talk mostly tonight about the people that choose to come see me, not the people that are sent to see me. And so whenever I go to a graduation, Matt promised me this would work.
It will.
It did. You touched it.
I touched it and I broke it, so that's not surprising either. Okay, now we just switched. Now it just went off. So while Matt fixes that, so every time I go to a high school graduation and the speaker gets the valedictorian gets ready to step up and speak, I always nudge whoever's standing next to me and say, "Oh boy, here we go! 15 minutes of wisdom from an 18-year-old." Now that I'm 57 years old, I think it's a lot easier for an 18-year-old to give a speech full of wisdom, because I think I was sure of a lot more things when I was 18 than I am now. And so, and hopefully everyone else will experience that as we mature and have experiences in life. But what I want to talk about today is what I've learned from other people, primarily those who are unhappy, and working with them trying to figure out ways to correct that happiness by figuring out why they're not happy. Looking at some patterns of thinking, some patterns of behaviors that block physicians from enjoying the enormous privilege that we have as physicians to treat other people with that. So, this is one of my favorite quotes from Teddy Roosevelt. People will argue with me on spiritual issues and other things. But if you look at it, basically the greatest prize that life has to offer on earth is the opportunity to work hard at work worth doing. And I think that no other profession has that opportunity like physicians do, and healthcare, and all healthcare providers, in order to have meaningful work to do. We're not, talking about, if you look at what creates happiness, whenever I give a lecture on depression, I talk about depression as being an illness. And we're not talking about the illness of depression tonight, because antidepressants can take people who are depressed and make them normal, not happy. Happiness is a personal responsibility. Happiness takes work. So I can get people from depressed to normal, but that's where most of the world is. Very few people get to achieve that happiness, and that happiness comes from a meaningful life. And how do you define meaningful life? The way that I view it is that what's important is relationships, work, and your spiritual life. And if those three things are working and there's integrity between them, so that the way we conduct ourselves in work and the way we conduct ourselves in play and in our relationships and in practicing our faith, if all those things are together, that produces a meaningful life which can produce happiness. And we get it all messed up and try all kinds of different things that kind of block us from being able. So let's look at some of the thought processes that I kind of tried to come up with that block us from what we all know. And most people kind of nodded their head when they said that, right? So why do we all not do it? Why do I not do it? Well, it's hard to do. We're talking about ideals here and goals, not what's easily attainable. And that's why it's called work. Everything we're talking about is work. I'll just snap my fingers. I thought it had changed already. And one of the things that I talk about, and I thought I made this word up and then actually Googled it and found out it existed, because I saw so many people that suffer from unhappiness have what I call ergophobia, which is the fear of work, that somehow work is labeled like a four-letter word rather than being what work is. Since the dawn of time, life has been about work. Everything that we would, if you want to play golf, it's actually work going out there. And for some reason, what I've seen more and more, and this is not a rant on millennials, but basically identifying work as being something that's separate from life. That there's life and then there's work that's an intrusion into that life. And all that work is something that gets you the money that you need in order to have your life, rather than seeing the work that you do as being an integral, a part of that integrity that leads to happiness within your life. The other thing I see that people often confuse is the difference between having fun and happiness. Happy people have a lot more fun than unhappy people. But an unhappy person will never find happiness by trying to have enough fun. And yes, that is David on the jet ski there. And so, again, it's not trying to divide. I see some people that are so frustrated because it's like, I don't have enough free time to be happy. Well, guess what? If free time made you happy, then why are the number one consumers of psychiatric services people that have too much money and too much time? So that is not what leads to happiness. It gets us into trouble. What we need to do is embrace the reality that life is work, and having a meaningful life comes from having meaningful work. I've always wanted to do that to my boss. The other thing that I find that leads to people having difficulty finding joy in their work is a sense of unfairness. And I particularly love it when I see 2 or 3 people from the same practice, and every one of them tells me that they're unhappy because they work so much harder than everybody else in their group. That is a physical impossibility. And so basically all physicians, including me, I'm the hardest working physician that I know. Not really. But I hear from physicians all the time, and they're chronically frustrated because, and part of it is subtle in that none of us know what everybody else is doing. We know everything that we do, and so we compare the snippet that we get of other people and say, it's not fair, they don't work as hard as me, and I'm unhappy because life is not fair. Well, guess what? Life is not fair. And if you embrace that and accept that you really don't know what everybody else is doing, and see work as being an opportunity to increase your happiness, then it doesn't matter if it's fair or not. My children have given me 2 mugs that they had actually painted for me. One of them was, life is not fair, because I said that to them so much growing up and it used to drive them crazy. And the other one is, you don't have to want to, you just have to. We get ready to go to church in the morning, I'll say, okay, it's time to go to church. They go, well, we don't want to. And I'll say, okay, that's fine. And they go, really? And I said, yeah, you don't have to want to, you just have to. This is a basis with raising children. I see some children in here. It really helps them to know that there's a lot of things in life you don't have to want to do. You just have to do it, accept it, get over it. Yeah. The next thing I want to talk about is margins. Are y'all familiar with the concept of margins? There's a whole book written about finding margins in our life. Margins are having gaps, enough gaps in our life. I talk about the myth of teleportation. I'm amazed at people that will schedule a 10 o'clock appointment at the main hospital that's going to take an hour, and then an 11 o'clock visit at the North Campus where they're going to have to, it's going to last another hour, and then schedule lunch with their spouse for 15 minutes at 12 o'clock. And through all the meetings, rather than being able to sit down and be mindful of the moment and do the work they have to do, enjoy where they are, they're constantly worried about that. So making an effort to build in margins in our life can greatly enhance happiness. And we all have demands that we have no control over. When somebody calls Pete to the OR, he can't say, no thank you, I'm having some margin moment here. So I'm not being unrealistic about this. What I'm talking about is in your day-to-day life. Some of the most unhappiness that I've seen in the clinic among residents over the years have been residents that are, their primary goal is they have a commitment at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And what that does is it ruins the entire afternoon. They're not thinking about their patients, really. They're not truly with their patients. They're thinking about that patient intruding on what they've failed to prepare a margin for in their life, and they lose the moment. One of the great, this is my 33rd anniversary tonight. So this is my wife. And so we've been together for 38 years. And it's been a long journey. And we've learned many things along the way. But one of the things that kind of subtle transition that happened in our relationship, and I call it one of my greatest gifts that she gave me, was probably at about 10 years or 15 years, she finally just kind of gave me permission. She said, I know you're a physician. I know you can't set boundaries, so just let me know what time you're gonna be home. I don't expect you to be home at 5. Just let me know when you're gonna be home. And that allowed me to relax and enjoy my patients and enjoy my practice so much. So I wanna thank her for that gift. And spouses, it's a gift that you can give to anyone around you. It's basically to allow them to have the time to do what they need to do and not have unrealistic expectations, because as physicians, we don't always have control over that. So